Welcome to Season 5 of the SARE Ladies podcast. This is where Asian American Pacific Islander women carve out their own space in real estate and shake up the status quo. Join your hosts, Anita Wong and Ashley Cow, as they dive deep into bold strategies, personal growth, and everything it takes to own it. From building wealth to boosting confidence. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the SARE Ladies podcast, where we talk real estate, representation, and rewriting the rules of wealth. I'm your host, Anita Wong, a real estate investor, syndicator, and co-founder of Give Rise Capital.
And I'm Ashley Cow, commercial mortgage lender, investor, recovering tech employee, and your co-host.
So today I can't believe the year is almost over because I feel like it's just got started. But, I think that what is behind every successful investor, really just successful human, is how you set your goals. So we're going to be talking today about goal setting for your 2026 year. And Lisa, who had joined us earlier in this year, you guys have just been obsessed with her. So we wanted to invite her back because, the list of achievements that Lisa has had: Crown Miss Las Vegas 2013, Miss Nevada US 2014, GP at the Veteran Fund, ran for Congress in Nevada's 4th District, founded multiple companies in food, shipping, logistics, swimwear, and real estate. And so this woman knows a bit about goal setting and executing on them. So since New Year is just around the corner, we want to talk about that. And she's also hosting a business planning and goal setting workshop on December 19th. And Lisa, welcome back, and excited to hear about this event.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm super excited. I'm actually teaming up with Nevada State Bank. And we're hosting on December 19th a business planning goal setting workshop. And we're hosting it at the Space in Las Vegas. But this venue is really fantastic because it's actually set up really well for virtual. So there's going to be virtual and in-person options to join. But either way, whether it's virtual or in person, you're getting the same great experience, great content. And I'm just super excited. It's going to be a full day of deep diving, not only to the tactics that I utilize and the ones we utilize within each of the businesses, but I'm also bringing in the actual people that I turn to for advice. My husband is going to be there, my attorney, my banker, just, real life folks that I utilize for input and help with my goal setting, help with my business planning. And it's going to be a great tactical working day.
Awesome. Well, if this sounds like something you want to go to, we have a special discount code just for you SARE Ladies listeners, SARE Ladies, for 20% off for the event.
Yes. Yeah. So would love to have any of our community there for sure.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to jump into the episode today to talk about goal setting. But before we jump into that, I do want to just start the day off with some rapid fire questions for Lisa. So Lisa, what is your morning or evening planning routine?
Well, now with an 8-month-old, my mornings have shifted a little bit differently. Previously, it very much used to be focused on, I just had more time for like intentionality and just kind of really setting the trend for the day. I still do that, but it's just in a much more compressed timeline. And strangely, it's strange to say, actually, when I'm feeding the baby in the morning, because it's a quiet, kind of peaceful time and a quiet, peaceful activity. When I'm feeding him, that's actually a nice reset time for me to like just kind of get the day going in my brain of like laying out, hey, like what do we have today? I've already looked at the calendar, but like just mentally, like what do we have going on today? Just kind of setting an intention of like, hey, we're going to have a great positive day today. I love just saying that even to myself. And just starting the day like that, I think is super important. And finding it when you can, whether it's in quiet moments of, getting your kids ready or feeding the baby or whatever it is, there's still snippets of time to be able to find that intentionality.
Love that. Okay, so digital planner, paper planner, or both?
Hybrid, both. obviously big like Google Calendar fan, so it's definitely what I utilize across the businesses as well. Everything is on calendar invites and digital planning for sure. But I'm a huge list taker, and like I love writing out to-do lists, even if it's just for that day. And then I love crossing it off. So there's something tangible about the paper part of it, of writing it out and crossing it off.
That's funny. I'm the same way. I find joy like actually doing the motion of crossing it
Yes,
off. It makes
yeah,
me
like
feel
it's
so good.
done. Yes.
Okay. What is your go-to productivity tool?
Ooh, I would say actually voice notes. Keeping track of voice notes, or even the Notes app in your phone as well, when you need to quickly jot something down. But voice notes are super helpful.
Okay. What is one habit that makes your week easier?
See, just setting intention, and whether that's meditation, prayer, intentionality, carving out time to do that, whether that's in the morning or in the evening. But uh, I find if I don't do that often enough, then it's easy for me to feel scattered. I need that kind of reset baseline of going inward almost. And for me, it's prayer. Just praying that, that I continue to stay disciplined. Grant me the strength to continue. Grant me the wisdom to continue, and just finding moments where I can like express that gratitude as well, and just kind of remembering that around like intentionality, prayer, meditation. Maybe it's an only child thing. Like I need that like quiet time, even if it's a short amount of time, to feel reset.
Love that. Okay. Cool. What is one thing that most people don't know about you?
I think most people don't know about me. Um, I don't. I guess this is like weird to say, even though my married name last name now is Gunderson, but my maiden name is Sutton. But people assumed it was my married name. I think people didn't realize my dad was white, so they were just like, yeah, everyone was like, oh, like Sutton, and they just assumed I was married. And so my dad, I'd see my dad, and he'd pick me up from the airport when I'd go visit Arizona, or even if he would come into Vegas, right, and visit. Um, young Asian woman with like an old white guy. It was like tale as old as time, right? So people would see my dad and I together, and if they didn't know it was my dad, they were just like, "Who's that guy?" And like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "It's my dad." And like, "Daddy," you know what I mean? Like, it's my dad, my father, So it's weird to say, but I feel like a lot of people didn't realize that as FY, it's just like strong Korean genes, and they just didn't know.
That's a good one. Actually, my kids have a hyphenated name. I'm gonna need to remember that one. I mean, they're babies right now, so no one's questioning whether they're married right now.
Right. But it's a thing. It was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing. Like my entire adult life.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's hop into our main question. So, when someone starts planning for 2026, what's the first thing they should review from the past year?
Well, you hit it on the head as far as it's really hard for you to kind of craft what it is you want to do and where it is you want to go without taking a recap, without looking back, and figuring out what worked and also what didn't work. So very high level. One of the first things that especially we like to do within the businesses too, and we try to do this on a quarterly basis, but certainly you can do like an annual review as well. It's really looking back at kind of the highlights, like what worked, and then what were the lowlights of what didn't work or what really went wrong. And those are kind of the two best level sets for revisiting and looking back at what worked and what didn't work, so that way you can figure out a path moving forward, and what you'd like for things to change or be better moving forward too.
Do you look at do you have like one place where you have all of your new year goals, and then you look back on them and see what shifted or things like that? Or like, do you keep track of those things?
Yeah. So actually, There was the longest time where I used to just kind of keep little notes on my phone for yearly goals. But my husband, he's really visual, and I love that he does this. And so we started doing this together as well. He gets like the big, it's like the 3M, uh, like whiteboard looking paper, and it has the sticky part across the top, so you can write on it, but then you can peel the whole thing off and like stick it somewhere, like stick it on a wall. Or for us, we actually stuck it on the sliding glass doors of our house, just so it's like always there and you can see it. And so like New Year's last year, for example, we wrote out individual goals, and we also wrote like family goals or like couple goals, and we put them on like those big pieces of paper that like stick to something, so that way it's just always there. And for me, I took a picture of my sheet as well, so that way I just have it saved in my phone and I can revisit it anytime. But I think it's really important, whatever medium it is that you use, whether it is your phone or if you're a pen and paper type of person or a journal person or whatever it is, but just having that reminder of what the goals are, so that way it's accessible. Because if you don't see them, then it's easy to forget.
Do you think that you and your husband write goals differently? I know that he's military as well, and like I feel like there's a different thought process. My husband's also a veteran as well, and I feel like we have very different ways of thinking about goals and stuff. So do you guys have, like a different language, or and especially like you've just had a family, an 8-month-old, and so how have those things changed since you have a newborn now?
He's definitely not only extremely methodical, but he's also like, even just like his handwriting is like very neat, right? It's all like caps, like block caps with like a black Sharpie, and it's just very clear. Like, um, mine is just more, it's in my handwriting. So it's just like, it's loopy and it's big and it's cursive, and, I have things bold or highlighted, or, I like to write it out the way that I would say it maybe. And so there's certain things where I have like underlined or circled. And so that's what works for me from like kind of a methodology standpoint. But I have to say, certainly in relation to like the family goals and couple goals that we did, we carved it up into different buckets. And I think we've been pretty good about like sticking to, what we had set out as like kind of family goals of like wanting to make things memorable for our son, or, make sure that we're stepping up in a certain area, because we knew that we had like such a big year ahead of us, with 2025 being a big year. So yeah, I feel like we've stuck to it pretty well, but he's definitely, I think, far more like methodical when it comes to like planning it all out, writing it out. It's all like nicely separated and organized, and mine's just more, like I said, it's almost like the way I would like say it to someone.
Okay. And so I bet you have like are you like the more flexible one in regards to goals, like in between you two? Or he's like just like very rigid, like we have to meet this goal because I wrote it down.
Yeah, well, and I'm more like, I feel like I'm maybe more on the creative side of like how we get there. Right? It's like we can have an end goal and like a shared end goal, and I'm less rigid about like how we get there. I'm more like, let's just get it accomplished, right? There's infinite amount of ways actually that we could accomplish this. So, like let's just pick one and try. If that's not working, like let's try this lane. Like I'm more like, I just feel like there's a level of resourcefulness that I'm like, maybe it's just from like running businesses, right? And knowing that like no is not a sufficient answer. So it's just like, I feel like I'm really good at just kind of finding a way. And he's more like, I'd rather map out the way and confirm that that's the correct path first before, moving forward. And I'm like, no, like this is fine. We have to try this way.
Okay. So in regards to, you're planning for your next year, and so how do you decide between what you kind of need to cut back and what kind of chooses to stay? know that you said, you started planning and then you look at your past and you find what works and what doesn't. So how do you choose what continues to stay for this next year?
Yeah, it really comes down to kind of the filter and the goal of what it is that of where you want to be, right? And I think people have different seasons in life. And certainly, if you're in like a grind season with your business or something like that, you're in a different place than, let's say, being on the back end of that. And maybe you want to carve out more time for family for 2026 because your business has matured and it's stabilized and now it's a good time for you to do that. It just depends like where people are kind of in seasons. For me, there are kind of two main exercises. One, I think I've shared with you guys before. The one that was shared with me with my mentor Ken about looking at, uh, does it make you money? Is it something you could see yourself doing for the next 10 years? And is the work that you're doing around it purposeful? Like, do you feel like it's impactful and purposeful? But another just kind of like shorter filter to look at it for me is, if it's either not bringing profit or positive energy or peace, like I'm probably going to say no, right? Like there has to be certain levers where you decide, you know, if your energy is finite and your time in the day is finite, um, where is it that you want to direct your time and energy when it comes to not only business stuff, but also personal stuff, your charitable things, your community things. There are so many different opportunities out there. And so you have to decide where is it that you want to be intentional, because without deciding that, if you don't have a criteria and you're just like, I'm just going to keep saying yes, that's ultimately, I think, when you can start to feel stuck and feel like you're spinning your wheels, even though you're so busy and your time is so filled, but you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like where's like the highest and best use of your time,
Sure.
and figuring out, okay. And for someone who's maybe just new to goal setting or planning, what is something that somebody starting out, what can they do like today in order to get clarity for 2026?
I think something as simple as, it's kind of like a woo-woo exercise, but I've done it in other personal development workshops, and I think it's very, very powerful and effective. And essentially, the general idea is this: it's sit down, you close your eyes, you get into like kind of a comfortable physical state, and you imagine what your life is like in 5 years. Like, right, it's 2025 right now, so you imagine it's November of 2030, and like, what does that look like? Maybe you're preparing for Thanksgiving with family, like you're literally visualizing, and like, where is that happening, right? Is that happening in some dream house that you have in mind? What city is that happening in? It literally, it forces you to get so granular with the details in this visualization, and it's long. When I did it, it was like a 10-minute kind of like guided meditation, basically. And the whole point was to get you mentally into a state where you were visualizing what it is that you wanted. So that way, when you came out of it, you could reverse engineer what is it going to take to get there. And the different exercises I've done have been different, where sometimes it's a 5-year timeline, sometimes it's a 3-year timeline, sometimes it's a year from now. But ultimately, the premise is still the same, where and there's no right or wrong answer. It's the answer is up to you of deciding what it is that you want for your life. Is there family involved? Are there future kids involved? Is there a spouse involved? Is it that you've grown the largest company in XYZ industry? You're the one who's visualizing it. You're the one who's planning it out. And if you can't determine that, there's more work to be done, right, to even get to that point then. Because it's really, again, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's surprising how many folks are out there just kind of living day to day, and they haven't stopped to think about what it is that they want their life to be, like how, like to design it, right? They don't know what they want their life to be.
I love that. Yeah, it's I like how you mentioned it's kind of like starting with the end in mind and then reverse engineering that. Um, I think that there was a book that I read a while back. I think it was called Vivid Visions or something like that, where it kind of talks about that too, where you visualize and, either put it on paper or whatnot. But it's kind of like, and like you said, it's kind of like manifesting or like kind of woo woo stuff, but it actually works. And so like I look back at like my years and stuff, and I'm like, wow, I actually thought about this like 4 years ago, and it actually came to fruition, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the exact time that you expect it to be, but it eventually does happen because you kind of like put the energy out that you're going to get to that goal or whatever. So
It's so crazy because like
yeah.
I do believe in that stuff, right?
Hmm.
Because it's happened. It's true. There were
Hmm.
literally, so we moved houses this year,
Hmm.
and in like the packing up part, right, with like I was packing up my office, and I had a binder literally from, it was a goal setting workshop that I went to, like I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was a while ago. It wasn't like last year. It was like a while ago. And I was packing it up, this binder, and like this little 3-ring like index card set like fell out of it. And it was these index cards where one of the exercises in this workshop was writing down like your financial goals, like what did you want your month to look like what's like your dream month, right? And what do you want to build for the next year? And on that, it was an orange index card, and I had written down on the top line, I was like 200,000 a month. Like I know I can do it, and like that's what I want. I want 200K months, and I had written that down, and I forgot about that index card. And it was crazy seeing it because I was like, oh my god, I was like, we've done that. Like it, you know what I mean? Like you put that out there and you like hold it, right? And it can happen. Like it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I didn't believe it before until like it actually happened to me, and I'm like, holy crap,
Yeah.
this thing
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so you are obviously in a lot of different ventures, and I'm sure your days are filled with a lot of different things on your list. And so, when someone feels pulled in too many directions, what question should they ask themselves to get clear on their top priority?
I think ultimately the singular question you can ask yourself is, does this activity get me closer or further away from my goal?
Love that. Yeah.
Right? Or just black or white. Like, does it get you closer or does it get you further away? And again, there's no right or wrong answer, right? Like only you can answer that. But I think we get so inundated with the day to day, and sometimes it's easy to forget. Like, wait, does this bring me closer to my goal, or is it bringing it further away? So just ask yourself that once in a while.
Okay. Cool. Um, and then, obviously it's the end of the year and people are setting their goals for 2026. And typically it's like, okay, I'm super hyped and ready to do it for 2026. And then come February, some of the goals start falling off or fading away. So what helps people follow through during the year instead of abandoning their goals by February?
I think there's two things. One is accountability, right? Like if you have, whether it's wanting to go to the gym or, wanting to eat better, like there's, these little like kind of lifestyle adjustments that you can make. And without having an accountability partner, it just makes it that much harder, I think, to be self-disciplined about it. Um, so one, have an accountability partner. Even like I said, if your goal is, you're like, you know what, I want to work out twice a week, every week. And so call or text someone in your phone who either hopefully like ideal situation can go with you to hold you accountable. And maybe they share the same goal or like can get on board and the two of you can do it together. Or worst case, it's someone who's close to you, whether it's a spouse or a friend or a family member or a best friend or whatever, and just say, hey, look, this is the goal I have. Please help me to be held accountable. So just having someone that you can that will check in on you, and that makes it, I think, that much easier. And then secondly, I'm a big fan of setting rolling goals. So it's one thing of like, oh, it's top of 2026, and so you have all these like big goals for the whole year. The year, it's interesting, right? Because in some ways it's very short, and in some ways it can feel very long. So we do this in our company too. If you break it up with like micro goals and rolling goals, so that way with the micro goals, you can set them quarterly. So that way you already have a finite end to accomplish like XYZ. And it's a 90-day sprint basically. Or 120-day sprint, and that's done. But then with the rolling goals, it's okay to set goals for the first half of the year and goals for the second half of the year. And that way you can get some renewed energy in the summertime. And that way it's second half. This is when I was going to start XYZ goals, and let's accomplish it. So it kind of helps break it up and not put so much pressure on the year-long trudge of setting an annual goal and trying to stick with it for the whole year.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes the yearly goal, when you're looking at it from the beginning of the year, you're like, holy crap, that's going to be a big mountain to climb. And so I like the breaking it up into smaller chunks, I guess, right? Into getting to that end goal. Yeah. And I'm curious, like, do you use like, so is there like a specific framework that you use or anything like that? Or, we talked about planners earlier. So is there like a planner of any sorts that you use that kind of help you design or kind of map out these goals?
Yeah, so essentially it's like basically I've turned all the framework into like worksheets basically, and it's what we'll use December 19th for the event as well for the workshop. But essentially it's a framework that I like using pen and paper, so it's like kind of worksheet style where it's different goals broken up into different buckets. So you have family, you have career, you have financial. You have it's a total of 8 buckets, but you have these different buckets that you can break it up. So that way, again, it doesn't feel so daunting of setting these huge annual goals and you feel like you have to cover everything. Breaking it up into buckets, into chunks, just makes it feel a lot more doable.
Mhm.
So I guess I want to ask, how do you measure for yourself whether something is, I don't want to say like too hairy or audacious, but kind of, but like, I feel like you had a lot of big pivots in your life, right? You've had, you went politics route, then you went, you did pageantry for a while. And then I'm wondering, like, how do you measure something is worth pursuing or something is maybe diverting from your attention or something is too small or too big for the next year?
I've really just kind of focused on, if my goal, my ultimate goal is to, make an impact, make income, make an impact. There's sometimes things that will come up, like opportunities will come up that will just like be so strong and call to you that you have to do it. And that was where, the congressional run happened. That wasn't something on my 2019 goal setting list, you know what I mean? And in fact, it's still not, like, politics was not in the plan. It's still not in the plan. It's not for me on a personal level as a candidate, but I'm very much a supporter of private sector. So meaning folks with real life experience, right? Real world private sector experience. They've had a job outside of government, and who step up and run for office, because it's crazy. Like, it's so important that our legislatures, they know, what it takes to run a business. But I digress. But that opportunity came up, and I just felt so strongly pulled to it. And I was like, I have to do it. I have to at least try and see what happens and see if I can make an impact. And I'm so glad that I did. So, it's one of those things where sometimes you obviously you can't plan, right? You can't plan for everything. And when some opportunities come up, yes, some of them might be distractions, but I strongly feel that the ones that really call to you, that you feel really compelled to take action on, there's a reason why you feel that way. And if you have the time and bandwidth to make it happen, like, you just never know where life will take you. I ran during the 2020 cycle, and it was such an incredible experience. I'm so grateful that I did it, even though I didn't end up winning ultimately. I still have incredible relationships, connections, insight, which have now brought me to a place where, I'm on the board of a state PAC. I'm heavily involved in politics, but on the back end, right? On the donor side, on the policy side. And that is where we're making an impact, because we're encouraging electeds to take a look at bills that impact Nevadans, right? So I'm able to, oddly enough, have more of an impact not being a forward-facing candidate. But I would have never gone this route and been involved in policy and things like that without having had run in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like I subscribe to the everything is compost mentality, where kind of all these things that compel you maybe will serve you in other ways down the road, right? It's an iterative process, and you're like, oh, I ran, and but I actually like this side a little bit more, and then you kind of find your path. And I feel like a lot of these goals, at least for my setting, it's just like I feel like I'm making these edges, like it's a sketch. And before I, make the final line, so that's awesome. Cool. So before we wrap up, I want to talk about this workshop one last time. So where can our listeners register for this live stream or in-person event?
Yes, they can just go to lisasongSutton.com/workshop, and it has all the info there. Just all the information we'll be going through, that you'll really, leave that it's a tactical working day. You'll leave the day with your goals in place and with a clear direction of what you want to do and how you're going to achieve it. And like I mentioned, I'm really excited to be hosting it at this great venue called The Space, where they are purposefully set up well for live streaming. So there's virtual, you can join us virtually, or you can join in person, and if you happen to be in Vegas. Either way, it's going to be great, and I'm super excited to be hosting this with Nevada State Bank. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and SARE ladies for 20% off.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Lisa, for helping us close out the year. I know that you were the one who helped us open this year on the podcast, so it's nice to have you back. And I really enjoyed the conversation today. I think just, the topic of goal setting is new to some folks, and then common for others. And I think I really liked that, it starts with just internally, right? The mindset and visualizing, and then just kind of breaking it out into chunks so that it doesn't look so crazy or big and too hairy. And then the whole accountability piece. I think that makes a huge difference. I wanted to mention earlier, I had an accountability partner for working out. And one thing that she did was, she's like, because I'd be like, I don't want to go. And she's like, okay, just put your shoes on and your gym clothes on and see how you feel. Right. And so that's the chunks, like the little steps. And then we went, she's like, okay, get in the car.
Now see how you feel. Yeah.
And so
sit in the parking lot and see how you feel.
Yeah. So I love that. But yeah, thank you again for coming to our podcast again. And we look forward to the December 19th event. I'll definitely be tuning in virtually. So
of course. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, ladies. Appreciate you guys as always.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you next time. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the SARE Ladies Podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to follow, share, and leave us a review. It helps more women in real estate find this community. And don't forget to connect with us at sareladies.com for more resources, stories, and support on your investing journey. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep breaking barriers.